Hey noobs, Mr. Frog here. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Escape Dungeon 2, a new rogue-lite game developed by Hide Games. Now this game will not be censored by default on Steam, so you can get straight into playing it right after buying it. The game opens with a brief backstory introduction, explaining that the Sundista Kingdom lost a war to the Demon Lord Charon. The Sundista's queen, famous for her orgasms that can apparently reverse time, was thankfully able to escape, but is now missing. The Demon Lord, however, was able to capture the kingdom's most powerful mage and locked them deep inside a dungeon. The few remaining survivors of the Sundista Kingdom form a resistance group. Among them, the beautiful elven assassin, Shunral, the Silver Wolf, who sets out to infiltrate the Demon Lord's castle to assassinate Lord Charon and free the Sundista mage. Following the cutscene, you will immediately take control of Shunral, where you can begin to start your quest. The game contains no tutorials, and instead just displays the controls right on the screen, which you can then hide once you are familiar with them. The game can be played with either mouse, keyboard, or a combination of the two. Also, for those interested, this game is indeed fully one-hand playable. Just click around the move, and Shunral will automatically attack at any and all enemies within range. Aside from auto attacks, you will also find and unlock several skills to fight your enemies with. Skills can be obtained either by leveling up or clicking on random obelisks that will spawn in the dungeon. You will be given a choice of either active skills, passive skills, or simple stat increases. The active skills can be used by simply clicking and dragging them onto your targets. Now the controls, once you get used to them, honestly feel refreshingly simple and satisfying. As for the combat, it may seem overly simple at first with the auto-attacking, but it does have a surprising amount of strategy and nuance to it. You can move and attack in the same turn, so oftentimes you will find yourself kiting enemies to avoid damage. Occasionally though, you will either be overwhelmed with a horde of enemies, or a faster moving enemy that is unkitable. Here is where your skills can come into play, where you can do different things such as teleport away, cast a fear spell onto an enemy, or launch several strong attacks to just burst them down. There's lots of different options and lots of different ways to play. The game is definitely one that rewards careful planning and patience over rushing into a fight. Now, like with many other roguelites, health can definitely be scarce at times, so taking lots of unnecessary damage can and probably will ruin your entire run. If you do end up failing though, fear not, as here is where the Queen's famous powers come into play. If you fall in battle, time will mysteriously reverse, taking Shunral back to the beginning of her journey. You will not return empty-handed though, as you will retain all the memory fragments you obtained throughout your run. Now, memory fragments are simply just a currency that can either be found in chests or dropped off monsters. You can then use these fragments to purchase permanent upgrades to Shunral that will make your future runs easier and easier over time. I really like this progression system, as it always made it feel like you were never wasting time with your run, even if one happened to go bad. As for the visuals in the game, I really enjoy the blend of 3D and 2D art assets here. Monster variety is pretty decent, but will mostly be your standard H-game ensemble with lots of orcs and goblins in the beginning. Later levels will gradually introduce more interesting monsters such as werewolves, mummies, and even incubi. I will say on a more critical note that the level variety could be a bit better. It's mostly just subtle variations of the same generic dungeon, with honestly little interesting scenery or backdrops. Now, onto the real content of this game, the H-content. H-scenes are unlocked whenever Shunral is defeated in combat. The scene you get will be decided by the type of monster you were defeated by, with each monster having their own unique scenes. Now, if you are a pro gamer like Mr. Frog though, and never die in combat, then fear not, as this game will allow you to purchase the scenes instead by spending unique and specific tokens for each monster, earned by killing the corresponding monster type. I found this to be a very nice system, as it can be sometimes annoying in some of these games to force yourself to lose to unlock all the H-scenes. As for the scenes themselves, they're all pretty top-notch quality in terms of illustration and animation work. Many of them will be BDSM-themed in nature, fitting right along with the dungeon setting. Occasionally, some of them can also be quite absurd and comedic, but honestly in all of the right ways. Other than losing in combat, really the only other H-content will be Shunral's armor breaking when her health is low. And with that being said, H-scenes are honestly far and few between in this game. Escape Dungeon is definitely more of a gameplay-focused H-game, but the scenes you do get are top quality. Overall, Escape Dungeon 2 is without a doubt one of the most solid and enjoyable H-games I've played in a very long time. It's a game that not only has great art and illustrations, but also fun and engaging gameplay with a well-designed progression system to keep you interested in coming back. With all of that being said, this game easily earns a very strong and solid Mr. Frog Mountain Dew sip of approval. Once again, thank you to everyone for all the support, and if you'd like to see more H-game content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to check out the Mr. Frog stream over on Twitch. Later, noobs.